It is 10 o'clock. Good morning from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. The 11th-ranked Tennessee Vols have lost 5 of their last 7, falling 68-63 at number 25 Texas A&M on Tuesday. The loss drops Tennessee to 20-8, 9-6 in SEC play, with 3 games remaining in the regular season. The Nashville Predators gave up 2 two-goal leads, but escaped with a shootout win over the Vancouver Canucks in Bridgestone Arena Tuesday. More injury issues for the Preds, who were again without forward Philip Forsberg last night. Center Ryan Johansson left the game with an injury to his right foot, and Elliot Friedman reporting today that Johansson will undergo surgery. The Preds remain 7 points out from a playoff spot. Big story out of Tuscaloosa on Tuesday that Alabama freshman basketball star and Nashville native Brandon Miller brought a teammate the handgun that was used to kill a woman last month. That is according to police in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, testifying that Miller brought Darius Miles the gun that was used in the fatal shooting of 23-year-old Jamia Jonay Harris after Miles texted him and asked to do so. Miller has not been charged, and Alabama head coach Nate Oates stating that Brandon Miller is not in any sort of legal or team trouble. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Good morning. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. Happy Wednesday to you. Lovely to see you. Lovely to talk to you. Great to have you guys here as always. Jump in as you like. 615-737-1045. We got the dumbest thing in sports. Later today, we're also going to get into some things that A.J. Brown had to say about his trade from the Titans. We took a breather on that yesterday, but the coverage has continued to swell, so we'll play those comments for you later on. Lucas and I, Robert, at some point, we're here with you until 1 o'clock. Always grateful to have you. Unfortunate place to start, though, this morning, given the news that came out yesterday, right about the time that we were wrapping up the show, it looks like, the latest on the case of the Alabama basketball players that are caught up in this mess in Tuscaloosa, and adding the additional details now of their star freshman Brandon Miller, his involvement in this. So I was reading the reporting on ESPN and at AL.com yesterday after I got home. And the details that have now been added to this, as you heard in Lucas's update, Alabama, their star player Brandon Miller, brought the gun used on the Tuscaloosa strip killing of a woman that led to a capital murder charge for his now former teammate, Darius Miles and Michael Davis, according to law enforcement testimony that came down yesterday. Now, that this comes in the wake of comments from his head coach, Nate Oates, that said that Brandon Miller is not in any trouble. That's a direct quote, as a result of his alleged involvement. From Nate Oates, we knew about that. Can't control everything that everybody does outside of practice. Nobody knew that was going to happen. College kids are out. Brandon hasn't been in any type of trouble, nor is he in any type of trouble in this case. Wrong spot at the wrong time. So that was prior. And since then, the testimony coming down yesterday afternoon, going on for about 2.5 hours at this point, and kind of seeing what new information can be gleaned. It does seem like Brandon Miller's involvement in this is something that's going to become more problematic than his head coach might have initially suggested that it is. Now, let's hear the comments from Nate Oates. As a matter of fact, Lucas has those available. I want you to hear them in his voice as opposed to me just regurgitating them.
Yeah, I mean, we've known the situation since we've been fully cooperating with law enforcement the entire time. I mean, the whole situation's sad. I mean, you just think of it, your team close practice with a prayer for the situation today. Again, knowing that we had this trial today, I mean, you think of Jamia and her family and Kane, really think about her son Kane that was left behind. So it's sad. We knew about that. I mean, can't control everything anybody does outside of practice. Nobody knew that was going to happen. College kids are out. Brandon hasn't been in any type of trouble, nor has he in any type of trouble in this case, like in the wrong spot at the wrong time. So we'll address it when I'm sure NBA scouts will ask, they do their homework. But yeah, I think the article that it came out, it also stated Brandon's been interviewed. He's, they're comfortable with everything that happened there.
Well, apparently something is less comfortable than the head coach of Alabama might have initially been led to believe based on the reporting that's come out. So,
well, no, he's talking about basically the law in Alabama being comfortable with what happened in Brandon Miller's role in the situation, and that is true. Brandon Miller's not getting charged.
He's not been charged,
and it doesn't look like he's going to be charged.
So
the key here is it was Darius Miles' gun. It was not Brandon Miller's gun that he gave to Darius Miles. He was bringing him back his property.
From his car.
Yes, and told
Brandon
him where
Miller's
it was.
car.
Said, hey, it's in the backseat of my car. And then Miles went to get it when it was used, obviously, for the killing of Harris.
Now, the Tuscaloosa Chief Deputy District Attorney said there's nothing that we could charge Miller with at this point. Both Davis and Miles were in the middle of this testimony yesterday and walking through the, for lack of a better term, play-by-play about how the situation came to unfold and how, unfortunately, a young woman came to lose her life. They were informed. They're actively not trying to downplay the seriousness of the situation in their public comments about this at this point. The reason that the gun was provided to Michael Davis was for protection is what is being argued on behalf of Davis and Miles. But unfortunately, the situation has come down the way that it has, and these two, their future is, it's in a really, really difficult spot. But we'll see more information come out, I assume, as this ongoing legal process continues to unfold. And Brandon Miller's name initially not being discussed in the middle of all this coming up yesterday in a way that garnered a lot of attention and a lot of headlines. So we'll talk to Nick Kelly about this of the Tuscaloosa News at 10:45. I think that is there any reason to suspend Brandon Miller for having any involvement whatsoever in this? Because it's such a difficult situation to parse without having been there in real time. And though he is legally not being charged with anything, I do think that there being zero, I don't want to call it a punishment, almost
action.
Seems too harsh. Any action, zero action from the program as to his involvement in this, I feel is a missed opportunity given the seriousness of what just went down. I'm not saying suspend him for the season. I'm not saying revoke his scholarship or anything like that. I'm just saying that some action to the effect of, hey man, don't be messing with this stuff ever again. We need to get the messaging right on this. You need to understand how bad this thing is if, he doesn't already.
Michael on YouTube says, suspend him for what? He took him his property that was left in his car.
Which is fair, by the way. Like, there's nothing nefarious about getting a text saying, hey, man, whatever your position on firearms is, being, hey, man, left my piece in your car, need to get it back at some point today. Now, it's a little different than, me taking Lucas's phone home with me and on accident and him saying, hey, I need to pick up my phone from you later today. The optics on it are not great, but I don't disagree that it is a really, really difficult spot. That's why I'm not saying that he needs to be suspended. I'm not saying that necessarily harsh action needs to be taken, but just you cannot have yourself anywhere close to a situation like this, even as it may not seem like an outright infraction.
there's more to the story as well, as far as the way his car was positioned and how that Nick Kelly can get into it with us with the timeline of how that did not enable the victims in the Jeep to get out of the situation. They were kind of blocked in by Brandon's car. His car had gunshots in the windshield because it was in the area when the shooting happened. So there are a lot of details about that involvement that Nick can give us more perspective on.
Okay.
But here's the question. If it was a bench, part-time role player off the bench on Alabama's team, would he have been suspended?
Well, that just gets into a whole different problem with athletics in general. And I would think that there would be some. Well, I can't answer that question because I'm not Nate Oates. All right, so let me not recklessly speculate. I would think that there would be at least a discussion of, for the sake of optics, do we just sit role player X down for a game or something like that because he had some tangential involvement in this. Now it sounds like it's a little more serious, and again, we'll talk to Nick Kelly about this at 11:45. It sounds like it's a little more serious than Brandon Miller just getting a text about a gun being left in his car and bringing the gun to Davis at that point. It sounds like there are some more things in play here that at least need to be questioned before any official determination, legally or otherwise, is made.
Headlines are reading, Miller provided gun used in shooting, killing of 23-year-olds. So the most important question for a lot of people was, did Brandon Miller provide the gun with the intention of shooting and killing this person? I think the answer to that is very clearly no at this point.
I agree with that assessment. But again, we'll speak to somebody who has been on the ground doing the reporting on this, Nick Kelly, at 11:45. Meanwhile, quarterback situations around the NFL, they're starting to become a little more interesting. Some reporting yesterday on Derek Carr and one NFL team that is particularly fascinated with the idea of him playing for them next season. We'll give you some information on that coming up next and how it affects the Titans quarterback situation as well. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back. What happened to your Vols last night, bud? Woo!
The same thing.
Good God.
Deja vu is what happened.
How can I get this to stop? I would like to talk about something different other than the basketball team being sad. I didn't get a win either last night, but if I had to lose to anybody, Michigan State in their first home game back.
Very emotional scene.
Yeah, it was tough. That was tough to watch.
Yeah, I saw Trace Jackson Davis wearing the Spartan Strong sweater. Tom Izzo crying pregame. That looked like a really emotional scene up there.
It was indeed. No graceful or seamless way to transition into quarterback talk, but that is obviously at the forefront of the NFL's mind right now. A lot of different shuffling parts at this point, kind of keeping an eye on things because of what the Titans situation is at quarterback and how they're trying to manage this thing at a time when nothing about them is terribly certain. But I think the thing that caught my attention most yesterday was our dear friend Diana Rossini on NFL Live. In fact, I was sitting at my kitchen table getting some work done when I heard this on the television in the background. And it's Diana doing some reporting on where it is that Derek Carr, the feeling about Derek Carr is right now with the New York Jets. Here was her report, courtesy of ESPN.
Well, Derek Carr is certainly in the driver's seat here in the situation. You just mentioned some of the teams that are interested in him. And in terms of that visit with the New York Jets, I heard it went really well from both sides. And in terms of what New York was trying to sell him, because let's face it, that's what they're doing at this point. They were pretty clear with him. They told him he's a great quarterback. They believe that he's got a legit surrounding cast of players. They went through the top D, the strong young skill guys, the explosive run game. They ran through top to bottom of why Derek Carr can step in here and take this team not just to the playoffs, but to the Super Bowl. And they made it really personal, too. They said, we believe if you come to New York and win, you could be a first ballot Hall of Famer, right? So they went full in on Derek Carr here to let him know they really want him to play for the New York Jets.
Yeah.
That sounds fantastic, Teddy. I mean, if you're Derek...
Oh, my God.
Just an exasperated Marcus Spears in the background. Oh, my God. So the Jets are out here gaslighting people. Now, Aaron Rodgers, to the best of my knowledge, was not on the Pat McAfee show yesterday as part of the Darkness Retreat.
So it must have ended yesterday. That must have been the last day because it was only 4 days long.
So while Aaron Rodgers, he told us that it was only supposed to be 4 days long. I have no idea. He could have lasted a half hour. He could have, he may stay in there for
Maybe
the
he
rest
extended it.
He's on a month by month now in his Darkness Retreat. Whatever the Jets are doing, they're desperate. If you are having to sell, not even Aaron Rodgers, not Tom Brady, those are really the only two notable names that would be out there right now. But if you're having to sell Derek Carr on, hey, bud, we, the New York Jets, are going to turn you into a Pro Football Hall of Famer. How does that sound, bud? Sign on the dotted line.
Oh, gee, that sounds great.
Who are the Jets to be making promises of Super Bowls and potential Hall of Fame career-making changes in that organization? That's wild to me. So,
well, what would Derek Carr actually have to do to become a first ballot Hall of Famer?
I wouldn't
New York Jets?
I wouldn't give Mahomes one until he won a second Super Bowl.
He would have to win like 2 Super Bowls.
Like back to back.
Minimum.
He's 31.
Minimum 2 Super Bowls. And probably break a couple franchise records.
Who is the general manager of the Jets right now? Is it still Douglas, the former Eagles staffer, Joe Douglas? What is Joe Douglas doing? Somebody make this make sense. I do not understand. Let me look up Derek Carr's and his career numbers are going to look better compared to some Hall of Fame quarterbacks because just how much the passing game has evolved in the last couple of years. And statistically, he's one of the best Raiders quarterbacks ever. He's one of the most prolific players to play for that franchise in their history just by nature of the numbers, because that's what passing is right now. He is 63 and 79 as a quarterback in his career at this point. He's been in the league since 2014. He is 31. He's almost 32 years old at this point. He's got 219 touchdowns, 99 interceptions, 35,222 career passing yards. I just, that is almost as laughable as somebody coming in here and telling me, yeah, the Titans pitched to Ryan Tannehill when they traded for him from the Miami Dolphins was, hey, bud, we're going to turn you into a first ballot Hall of Famer. And Tannehill's got a better case. That's nonsense. So the Jets are desperate. The Jets are taking wild swings and saying they're in their feelings because they want so badly to get this quarterback thing right. They felt like they were so much closer than they actually were last year as they were finding their way to potentially a winning season. And the thing that kept hindering them the most is the second overall pick at the quarterback position, who just can't for the life of him get his bleep together. So what that means moving forward, I don't know how Derek Carr is going to respond to these advances. What do you think? He's a professional athlete, okay? So he's going to have an inflated sense of self-confidence. But do you think that Derek Carr heard them say that to his face and was just come on, man. What are you talking about here?
You truly have no idea with guys at this level. No idea. Because they operate on a completely different plane.
No, sure. And, Derek Carr is probably being like, yeah, I could totally win back-to-back Super Bowls here. It makes all the sense in the world. Let's ride.
Yeah.
And, I'm not here to dismiss Derek Carr outright. I'm just saying he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, and the idea that the Jets' plan is to make him one is, an oh-no moment in the discussion around quarterbacks.
I wish this happened 24 hours ago. The perfect oh no.
Oh, it really is oh no.
Yeah.
Because now I don't I almost want to retract my oh no of Daniel Jones winning $45 million yesterday. Now, I can't get you to do that during the segment, but a day later and not in the same time block, you're going to do it there?
Yeah.
Now you have comedic timing?
I like to do things at the most inopportune times. Not the other way around.
It's a terrible way to do the radio show. Then there's the Lamar Jackson thing, man. Robert sent me this clip last night of Stephen A. Smith. Robert, you want to explain what the hell is going on with Lamar's contract situation? Because I had not seen the reports of what they had offered him in terms of guaranteed money and how it stacked up next to guys like Deshaun Watson and other players of the position who've been getting paid as of late. What the hell are the Ravens doing offering this man $133 million guaranteed?
And this is the conversation that we go back to that we talked about, like with the Jeremy Fowler report from August last year, where it said if the Ravens were approached with a windfall of picks, they would be willing to trade Lamar. This is their offer from last year. And while it's low, he did not finish the season last year. He did not come back. Tyler Huntley finished the season out. And I imagine they were giving him a preliminary offer, knowing he would not take it when his offer was, I want a fully guaranteed deal. And they said, you know what? We're going to roll the dice going into the offseason, and maybe we can reach a middle point after we see what happens this year. So I don't think that this is what they reported him or offered him most recently. I think this was the last offer between the two. And I think there's a deadline before they can start negotiating again. So I think this is the rehashing of the stuff that came out last year because, again, Lamar does not have an agent. No one is leaking things to the press. So the press, ESPN or otherwise, are having to come up with storylines to keep this because it is the most interesting quarterback storyline in the offseason, in my opinion.
Lamar? Yeah, I don't think there's anything close. Like the Rodgers thing is just silliness at a certain extent, and I can't continue to indulge or encourage the ayahuasca and the. I can because it's funny, and I just like the idea of thinking of Aaron Rodgers looking disheveled and being fed food through like a prison hole type of situation out of his own choice because that's how he chooses to clear his mind in the offseason.
But we also have no insight on the Lamar situation.
Other than what he's putting out on like Instagram, where he's saying it doesn't matter how much you give to them. Buddy, it's the A.J. Brown thing, but times 10 because he's a quarterback and he's a former MVP. Like, we are going to get into this A.J. stuff, and honestly, it's probably not a bad idea to just kind of put Lamar's situation into context probably not a bad idea to play some of this AJ sound from the Raw Room podcast earlier this week. The idea of how he was hurt about what about that they were willing, the Titans were, to go along with this trade offer at the time, and kind of where things stood while he was still interested in playing for Tennessee. They were just trying to hurry Tennessee up a little bit and get the contract offer right that they wanted. And instead, the Titans decided, no, we're good. Take him for a first and a third, and we'll figure it out later. And $25 million a year on the back end for A.J. Brown in Philadelphia. It provides moments of like, hey, you're going to have to grow up and understand what it is that this business is trying to do to you. It's trying to kneecap your value on the front end. And if you don't have the protections of an agent, and listen, agents are not perfect. Agents are there, though, in some form or fashion to be a buffer between you and the people who are trying to make you understand or trying to convince you that you're worth less than you think you are. That's an unpleasant conversation.
We're going to hear from AJ about this. If AJ doesn't have an agent, like going the Lamar route, AJ ain't getting that kind of contract from the Philadelphia Eagles.
No, God, no.
He's probably staying here in some way.
No, because he's putting himself in a difficult position. Lamar has unique leverage. AJ didn't have the kind of leverage that Lamar did. In fact, can you play that clip that you're talking about, Lucas, about AJ Brown, discussing that a little bit? Because I do think the part where he's talking about, it kind of made me take a step back and realize, they don't actually care about all the things that I've been doing for them. They're just trying to win a contract negotiation against me.
You telling me you all in the media, you're not going to trade me, you're not going to, you know what I'm saying, all this other stuff. You talking to me behind closed doors. You come, you know what I'm saying, just talking to me like, bro, you're not going nowhere. He like, you're not going nowhere. From Vrade, from John Robinson, like all of them. Like the whole process, even tell like the whole process, bro. Like they offered me like 16 up to like 20 with incentives. And so we was like no disrespect, but like don't disrespect me, bro. Right, you feel me? Like I'm playing behind Derrick Henry, bro. Like you feel what I'm saying? Like I can go crazy, bro. Like, he getting the ball 30 times. You know what I'm saying? Like my agent was like, at some point, like you gotta let him know, like, you know what I'm saying, you're not playing. So he telling me, I'm like, listen, bro, I ain't never went through this. It's what I need to do. You know what I'm saying? I paid you, you know what I'm saying? To do a job.
Yeah.
Lead me.
Yeah.
He like, stop talking to them.
Stop talking to him. Now, that's I think at the time, 24-year-old getting advice from a savvy veteran agent at the height of their profession who's negotiating several of these deals at the same time, because remember that AJ's representation, or at least his lead agent, is also the lead agent on Deebo Samuel and several other players at the position. Lamar doesn't have that. So Lamar's just out here spouting off on Instagram and probably not getting great advice. And maybe there are people inside the Ravens organization who are trying to take care of Lamar Jackson and who actually have his best interest in mind. And there are others be like, bleep this guy. Let's take advantage of the fact that he doesn't have these protections and try and get a better value on a quarterback, because these things can break you if you do the numbers wrong and you can't build out a team around a guy.
Although Roquan Smith did get a market-setting deal with the Ravens without an agent.
And I will say this. I know Lamar posts a lot on Twitter, on Instagram, but last year he was still posting some ambiguous stuff, and a lot of fans were reposting it on Twitter, like, why are you posting this? Like, what are they doing to you? And he said, not everything is about football. So I wonder if some of this stuff could be things going on in his life. Wonder if it's things going on in his professional life. We don't know. It's ambiguous. He's not tagging the Ravens in these Instagram photos where it's someone's head exploding. Like, you give someone so much love and you don't get anything in return, so it's bleep it. We don't know. That could be a girl.
He could have a cat.
God, he could have a cat. That's the perfect description. This morning, I was rubbing my cat. He was just laying there looking like a cute little boy. I'm like, are you going to have a good morning laying around? And he bit me. He bit me. Like, am I bothering you, dude? Sorry, you didn't have your rent in on time. I just don't get it. I show you all this love. So bleep it.
Is your cat riding around with you around town now in your car? Is that what's happening?
Oh, that was so cute. That was so cute.
Did he just follow you into your car?
So I had the doors of the car open. All right, for context, there's a video yesterday of I have two cats, for those of you who are new to the audience, they are half raccoon. They came in from the streets, and now they run North Nashville from my home and would change the locks on me if they could every time I leave town. Now, they are not outdoor cats, but, like, they'll go out in the backyard and hang out. Like, I'll leave the door open. They come back in when I whistle. They're basically dogs at this point. They don't try to get out of the fence. They don't try to chase birds. They're just chilling because, whatever put a hole in their neck the first time that I found them is probably still out there trying to chew on them again. So I'm loading stuff into the car. I got the doors of the car open. And I start, I get in the car. I make sure, one of them's back in the house. And I start the car. And the other one is sitting under my seat, like ready to go on a ride. Like she's trying to run errands. So we went out. We had a day. We ran errands in the car. She went to the pet store with me. She went to the grocery store with me. I popped the sunroof and the windows because it wasn't miserably hot in the car. So we went for it.
I'm like picturing you guys at a coffee shop, like sitting opposite each other. And she's got like sunglasses on and like little cat bowl in front of her.
She has a harness.
And you're reading a newspaper.
Are you not worried about favoritism? Like you bring her home and the other cat's like, where the hell were you at? Like you just left me here by myself?
Because the other one would like take a swipe at my legs while I'm driving and end both of our lives. Like he understands that he can't go in the car.
That's what my cat would be like in my lap and then just decide to take a bite out of my leg and we just swerve off the road.
My cats hate car rides, man. When I moved them from my apartment to my house, the whole time was like trying to get children unbuckled in to stay seated. They'd be climbing in my lap and crying. You know that cry that cats do that just makes you feel like something, like it's a guttural scream where they're like,
no.
I'm like, what do you want? Dude, we're driving. You can't go anywhere. You're stuck in this box with me.
Here's what we need to do for the Sports Talk Radio audience, because we are clearly, just so far, I was doing Lamar Jackson contract holdout discussion, and you guys took me down this path. We need to bring Chig Okonkwo in.
I was about to say that.
Chig is a cat dad.
Love that.
Chig is one of us. It's odd. It's honestly odd and like a little creepy that the three of us, all three have cats, end up on the same show together on Sports Talk Radio. I feel like that's not a very common occurrence.
I was going to say, the only way to not alienate our entire audience by just talking about cats, or a majority of our audience, is to at least get a Titan come in to also talk about cats.
You're like, no, dog, cats are cool.
Yeah.
All right, we'll work on that. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. AJ Parkinson just says, just extremely creepy of all of us right now, and I cannot necessarily disagree with him. What I will tell you is not extremely creepy is the opportunity to raise some money for an incredible cause coming up this weekend. It's the Polar Plunge. Robert, are you excited?
I'm very excited. I used to do this in college where they would like fill the pool with ice cubes, but I don't really know the protocol for this. Do we all jump at once? Do we hold hands? Like how does this go about?
There is an option to hold hands. Do you have?
No, I'm not holding your hand. No, I will not make out with you.
You may have to. I can't swim. You can join Robert, myself, and hundreds of other brave souls across the state for the coolest thing you'll do in 2023. It's the 23rd annual Music City Polar Plunge this Saturday, February 25th at Nissan Stadium. You can come hang out. They've got beer, they've got chili, they've got all kinds of great like stands out there. The weather is supposed to be phenomenal, so the only people who will be experiencing any cold are Robert, myself, and everybody else doing the Polar Plunge. For more info or to register, and by the way, very much appreciate those of you who have already donated to the cause on behalf of our team. You can donate to whomever when you go to specialolympics.org/polarplunge today. Welcome back. Wednesday, we got some SEC observations for you. Tennessee falls at Texas A&M last night. Not ideal, but I don't want to steal too much of Lucas's thunder. What do you got for us today, bud?
Strong start for Tennessee, very much unlike what they did in Rupp Arena on Saturday, scoring 2 points in the first 8 minutes. Tennessee got out to a big lead, 9-point lead, early sequences of the first half. Texas A&M comes back. It's a tie game at halftime. And then throughout the course of the second half and really the entire game, Texas A&M did what they've been doing for the entirety of this SEC slate. A&M leads the SEC in free throws attempted, in free throws made, and free throw percentage. They want to get to the rim. They want to make you send them to the line, and they want to knock down their free throws and use that to either stay in the game or separate. That's exactly what they did, and Tennessee had no answer for it. Texas A&M from the free throw line on Tuesday night, 28 of 34.
Yeah.
Tennessee from the free throw line, 10 of 14. A&M made twice as many free throws as Tennessee attempted. The exact game plan you knew they were going to come out with, and they executed it far better than anything Tennessee had. And it's gotten to the point where Santiago Vescovi feels like the only guy with a pulse on offense for Tennessee right now.
What has happened there? I mean, it's always going to be a struggle. Like, and that's a consistent theme year in and year out. Like, they're just going to have moments where they sputter offensively, and you're looking around like, what the hell? Now, I mean, 63 points in a game, and as you mentioned, the start that they got off to in the first half, where they tie it up at the end of the first half, they find ways to make sure that it's still a competitive game, and then they just lose track of things in the second half, even as they're keeping pace with Texas A&M, but not really. Like, it looks a lot closer than it actually was. I don't know. How do I have a different conversation about the damn Vols on a basketball court than I have for the last basically month?
So it's about, okay, how can this get better? Because at this point, when you take away Santiago Vescovi and Zakai Ziegler, when you limit their options offensively, you don't let them get good looks, Tennessee basically has nobody for defenses to worry about right now. Nobody. Nobody that is consistent enough around the rim. Olivier Kumwa can have a big game every now and then like he did against Texas, but his consistency shooting the ball around the rim has just been not good. Below average at best since that performance against Texas in Knoxville, which was about a month ago. Their best offensive performance of the season, and they haven't come close to that since. But how can they get better? Okay, help is technically on the way. Julian Phillips and Josiah Jordan-James were out again yesterday. It feels like they've been a game-time decision for the last 3 games since the Alabama game, and they did not play again yesterday. So Tennessee's rotation shortened again, and it's just 2 more guys that defenses will have to account for, 2 capable scorers that defenses will have to account for when they do return. So, yes, it can get better for Tennessee, but how much better? We don't know, because neither of those guys have been terribly consistent. You just know that the talent, Phillips, a freshman, a former high 4-star prospect, Josiah Jordan-James, a veteran leader on this team provides great length on defense, an accomplished 3-point shooter, shooting at like a 35% clip from beyond the arc. They will just have more options when those guys come back, but that does not mean that Tennessee's going to go right back to how they looked against Texas. And it's worth saying that they're in the middle of this SEC slate playing against teams that know them very, very well, that have all the resources at their disposal when it comes to scouting Tennessee, and just know how to stop them on offense, especially when they're shorthanded with Triple J and Julian Phillips on the bench.
4 losses in their last 5 games, the 1 win.
5 of their last 7.
Over Alabama. So, and Alabama was in Knoxville, so you take the home wins because they matter. Obviously, it's been a huge advantage for Texas A&M this year, as Lucas just laid out and as we talked about yesterday. I really thought that they had a chance when Vescovi stole the inbounds pass after the timeout. But then I think the player's name is Taylor.
Yeah, Wade Taylor, the 4th.
Snagged it back right before being fouled. Then he made both free throws, which put them up 66-63 at the time. Went on to be a final of 68-63. Vescovi and Ziegler, 14 points each. But other than that, it's just kind of like bleh, watching them on offense.
It's really tough. And they're so hamstrung when Vescovi or Ziegler don't have any options. And it's like with Zakai Ziegler, he's trying to create something. And to, it's a bare minimum, but you'll give him that. He's trying. That guy chucked up 11 threes, looking at the numbers. Chucked up 11 3-pointers, 2 for 11 from beyond the arc yesterday. You never want to be in a spot where Zakai Ziegler is shooting 11 threes. But, he's shooting below a 30% clip from there in SEC play this year. But they were out of options, truly. Nobody's creating anything for Tennessee down low on a consistent basis, and Santiago Vescovi, like I said, is the only guy on offense who had a pulse last night for Tennessee, even though he and Ziegler both had 14 points. They
make me sad.
They need Josiah Jordan-James and Julian Phillips back in the absolute worst way. And
what's the status on them? Because I don't know how much you were listening to the broadcast late. Forgive me, the color guy on last night's game.
Oof. Oh, it was Jimmy Dykes.
Jimmy
Dykes and Carl Ravitch.
Jimmy Dykes was talking about, because they brought up Josiah Jordan-James and watching him in the warm-ups, Ravitch did. And Jimmy Dykes goes, to be honest, I didn't see anything to indicate that he couldn't have gone tonight. And I thought that was very odd. And I don't know what Jimmy Dykes is doing there. I don't know if he may not have been trying to imply anything at all, but it came off to me as kind of an implication and be like, I don't know what the deal is here. So that, I don't want to infer anything that does not exist other than they're trying to get an injured player back into the lineup who matters very much and who's already missed some time.
Yeah, I've seen that from Tennessee fans, too. I've seen that.
Yeah, but I do not want that to be the arbiter of that kind of discussion. It's different if somebody with credibility like Jimmy Dykes, who's on the broadcast and has access to that, says it on national television versus some dude who's tweeting us on social media.
Josiah Jordan-James sprained his ankle against Vanderbilt a couple of weeks ago. He was a game-time decision for, he would miss the Missouri game following the Vandy game. There wasn't much of a discussion there. It was a game-time decision against Alabama, was a game-time decision against Kentucky, was a game-time decision last night against Texas A&M. Santiago Vescovi was a doubt, by the way, too, with the illness. He ends up playing. I could see this staff looking at it like, he could play, but why don't we go ahead and hang on to Josiah Jordan-James and make sure we get a healthy version of him for March. And you know what? If Josiah Jordan-James, if that helps him, if that enables him to come out and not play with any, no holds barred in March, and Tennessee is able to do something in the SEC or NCAA tournament, nobody's going to give a damn about what happened in College Station, Texas in late February if Josiah Jordan-James is helping this team in March. So I would say it would be worth it. Help is on the way. The question is, how much is that help going to substantially improve with the way this offense looks?
It just sounds like coping. That's all it sounds like to me. And by the way, you're not wrong. I'm not mad at that assessment or anything like that. It just sounds like we're grasping at things that you have no tangible evidence to indicate that it is going to make a legitimate difference at this point in the season or the way that this offense is sputtering. Now, it is fair to assume that getting your better players back will make you a better version of your team. But I just don't think it's a safe assumption to say this guy who's missed, a decent amount of time throughout the course of the season in a couple of different spurts, just going to drop him back in the lineup by giving him more time off and be like, all right, buddy, pat him on the butt and say, go get him.
The most you can say is there will be capable scoring options added to the lineup coming up.
By the way, that is...
Which they desperately need right now.
That matters.
Tonight, Alabama is at South Carolina. Brandon Miller appears as though he's going to play, as well as Jaden Bradley, by the way, another Alabama player involved in all of this. Nick Kelly, Tuscaloosa News, will talk about that a little more at 11:45. Because at this point with Miller, it's not really about should he be charged, should he not be charged. It's about, okay, what's the university, what's the program going to do about this? Feels like we know what the legal situation is for Brandon Miller from the Darius Miles shooting situation. Kentucky's at Florida tonight. Florida could have made a push. Colin Castleton breaks his hand. Gators essentially are no longer a threat in the upcoming SEC tournament. And Vandy will look to stay hot. They go to LSU, who has been one of the more struggling teams in the SEC this year. Big opportunity for a 6th consecutive win for Vanderbilt.
How much are Vols fans going to hate me when I start bandwagoning Vandy basketball?
Look, credit where it's due, man. Credit where it's due. They're winning games late. They're playing with confidence. Liam Robbins has just become a double-double blocking machine. And they're playing, I don't want to say their best ball under Jerry Stackhouse.
It would be tough to not make.
Yeah. Last year they got hot at the end. They go on an NIT quarterfinal run. Great, but so much of that is Scottie Pippen Jr. Just going to work. And I know Liam Robbins has had some big games for Vanderbilt, but I just think as a team, they look as together as they have the entire Jerry Stackhouse era.
They've won 4 straight games since I accused them of not being able to finish.
I mean, that Bama butt whooping can either make or break you a lot of times. And that could have broken Vanderbilt. 101-44 was the final. They haven't lost since that game.
It seems to really have galvanized them in a meaningful way. And you know, to their credit, to Jerry Stackhouse's credit, they're doing a lot of this stuff they're doing a lot of this stuff late in games. 67-65 over Auburn. We talked about the Tennessee buzzer beater a couple of weeks ago, or about a week and a half ago at this point. The game at Florida that they won on the road by 8. Like they have been handling these things.
They put up 88 on the Gators, and they're playing them again without Colin Castleton coming up.
They finish at LSU, hosting Florida, at Kentucky, hosting Mississippi State in the season finale, first week of March. 615-737-1045. That's how you jump in, because it's time for the dumbest thing in sports this week. We'll do
It is 11:02. Good morning from the Superbook.com sports desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. The 11th ranked Tennessee Vols have lost 5 of 7, falling 68-63 at number 25 Texas A&M on Tuesday. It drops Tennessee to 20-8, 9-6 in SEC play with 3 games left in the regular season. The Preds escaped with a shootout win over the Vancouver Canucks in Bridgestone Arena on Tuesday. They remain 7 points out of a playoff spot in the Western Conference, but more injury concerns for the Predators. Center Ryan Johansson left the game with an injury to his right foot. Elliot Friedman reporting today that Johansson will undergo surgery. Philip Forsberg remained out yesterday with an upper body injury. Big story out of Tuscaloosa on Tuesday regarding the shooting of 23-year-old Jamea Jonay Harris about a month ago in Tuscaloosa, as the development after testimonies from Tuscaloosa law enforcement saying that Brandon Miller, the Alabama star and Nashville native, brought the gun of Darius Miles to him on the night of that fatal shooting after Miles texted him and asked him to do so. Miles, the former teammate of Brandon Miller's, that is being held without bond in Tuscaloosa. Law enforcement in Alabama have made it clear Miller will not be charged. Alabama head coach Nate Oates stating that Miller is in no kind of trouble within the program. Alabama plays at South Carolina tonight at 8 p.m. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once in your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Off and rolling in the second hour. Welcome in. Love to have you here. Thanks for hanging out with us on this Wednesday. Robert, Lucas, and myself, we got you till 1. Jump in when you're ready. Now's the time, though. 615-737-1045. That's how you tell us what the dumbest thing in sports this week is. Hit the music.
Let's be honest. You've already seen something this week that made you say,
What the is this?
That's bullshit.
What the hell? Give me some more now.
something so mind-numbingly idiotic that you just want to get it off your chest.
Dumber than a second coat of paint.
Some idiot.
You are really dumb. For real.
It's the dumbest thing in sports this week on the Buck Rising Show.
It is presented by Painter Ready Murfreesboro. Call for a quote, 615-PAINTER or www.painterreadymurfreesboro.com. So what's the dumbest thing in sports this week, kids? I think that there are a couple of different elements to look at this. And I don't want to steal Lucas's thunder, but the Jets, man, that was hard for me to get over. Is that where you're taking this later on?
Nope.
Okay. I think that when you talk about the dumbest thing in sports this week, I think that you have to take a look at a couple of different things. But I think the thing that I land on the most is what has happened to Jim Caldwell in the NFL. The dumbest thing in sports this week is Jim Caldwell declaring he's now a senior assistant for the Carolina Panthers. He's been an NFL head coach a couple of times with the Colts and then after with the Lions. He has interviewed, I think, for every available head coaching job, or at least one available head coaching job in every cycle since he's been out of the Lions gig, which has been some time at this point. Now, he has said that he is so tired of being a Rooney Rule checklist item that he is no longer interested in interviewing for NFL jobs because he thinks that he has just been lost to the process. And going into this, the quote, when I didn't get a head coaching job, I immediately sort of changed the plan in terms of what I was looking for next. I knew I was at a stage where I wanted to be back in the building somewhere, and so I did have some opportunities to kind of look at that and was happy when Frank Reich called. Of the 5 teams that had head coaching openings this season, D'Amico Ryans was the only minority coach hired. Only the Dolphins, because Mike McDaniel, one of his parents is black, but he identifies as mixed race. But for the sake of the league counting him, Mike McDaniel. You have Robert Saleh, Mike Tomlin, Ron Rivera, and Todd Bowles. You add D'Amico Ryans to that, that's 6 minority candidates of the 32 NFL gigs. And only one hired out of 5 teams this cycle. So Jim Caldwell's looking around, tired of being a Rooney Rule candidate, just somebody that a team will check off in his head coaching experience, and you know that people are going to look around and be like, oh, Jim Caldwell, that makes sense. That's the last time that the Lions were any kind of competent as an organization. The dumbest thing in sports this week is basically the NFL breaking the will of somebody like Jim Caldwell, who's done nothing but really do well in NFL coaching gigs, and guys like Steve Wilkes who are still embattled in lawsuits with the league. I just kind of I hate that stuff. I hated reading that quote this morning that Jim Caldwell's just like, yeah, I'm over it.
Caldwell's head coaching career in the NFL, 14-2 with the Colts in 2009, lost in the Super Bowl to the Saints, 10-6 with the Colts in 2010, 2-14 with the Colts in 2011, and then was fired.
That was suck for luck.
Yes, that was suck for luck. 2014, 11-5 with the Detroit Lions, lost to the Cowboys in the wild card round. 7-9 in year 2, 9-7 in year 3, lost to the Seahawks in the wild card round, and in 2017, the last year, he was a head coach with Detroit, 9-7, missing out on a playoff spot.
Please put that up against somebody in the NFL's record, like Dan Campbell or Ron Rivera has gone through some various struggles, I think, as an NFL head coach, and then they just hire the 2 gigs at the end of the year. Just went to the 2 Eagles coordinators, Gannon and Steichen, because they wanted the coordinators that were in the Super Bowl last. That stuff really drives me crazy. Jim Caldwell has a substantially better record than a lot of current NFL head coaches, and he's just like, yeah, I'm tired of being run through the cycle, run through the car wash just to be told, yeah, we're giving it to the latest Super Bowl winning coordinator.
My dumbest thing in sports has to be Alabama basketball coach Nate Oates. And not because he hasn't suspended Brandon Miller, hasn't kicked Brandon Miller, and Jaden Bradley off the Alabama basketball team. But let me run back his comments from yesterday.
What's his value? What makes him a good...
No, that's Shady McCoy.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, we've known the situation since we've been fully cooperating with law enforcement the entire time. I mean, the whole situation's sad. I mean, you just think of it, the team closed practice with a prayer for the situation today. Again, knowing that we had this trial today, I mean, you think of Jamia and her family and Kane, really think about her son Kane that was left behind. So it's sad. We knew about that. I mean, can't control everything anybody does outside of practice. Nobody knew that was going to happen. College kids are out. Brandon hasn't been in any type of trouble, nor has he in any type of trouble on this case. Like, in the wrong spot at the wrong time. So we'll address it when I'm sure NBA scouts will ask. They do their homework, but yeah, I think the article that it came out, it also stated Brandon's been interviewed. He's, they're comfortable with everything that happened there.
So again, this is not about Brandon Miller. This is about Nate Oates. When discussing a situation where a 23-year-old woman, a 23-year-old mother, lost her life, words like wrong place, wrong time, when not discussing the victim, and, you never know, it can't control what college kids are going to do. They're going to be out. Phrases like that, probably not terribly smart to use. I think Nate Oates realized this because he came out with a follow-up statement last night and said, quote, I thought it was important for me to clarify the unfortunate remarks I made earlier. This entire time, I've tried to be thoughtful in my words relative to this tragic incident, and my statements came across poorly. We were informed by law enforcement of other student athletes being in the vicinity, and law enforcement has repeatedly told us that no other student athletes were suspects. They were witnesses only. Our understanding is that they have all been fully truthful and cooperative. In no way did I intend to downplay the seriousness of this situation or the tragedy of that night. My prayers continue to go out to Jamea Harris's family. You just have to realize how that's going to come off, what the optics are going to be. And I know there's nuance and context to the situation, and that can all be discussed. But using phrases like wrong place, wrong time when not talking about the victim doesn't come off too well.
Hey, bud, I think it's pretty telling, to be honest with you. Like, I appreciate his clarification after the fact, but, like, I think that's fairly telling about where, and I don't want to apply this to all coaches or anything like that. I don't think that's a fair assessment. But I do think that that's a pretty good look at how it is that the coach is processing this stuff, because I think that's a moment of transparency that you should take to heart. I think he has been treating it kind of like the way that it just came off. Wrong place, wrong time is how maybe he's internally justifying this to himself. You know what I'm saying? And got blowed up for it because it's the first time that he's externalized comments like that, and then was made to realize, oh bleep, I can't be saying things like that. I think it's a fairly telling look.
It'll be interesting to see how Alabama continues here. As of now, Bradley and Miller are going to play tonight when Alabama plays South Carolina, an 8 o'clock tip. But college basketball media is really reacting to this. And
as they should.
Basically all on the same page and putting pressure on the university. I've heard talk about Miller should be suspended. I've seen pressure on Alabama to not just suspend, but fire Nate Oates. It's not going to go away. It's not going to go away for a while. So we'll see what the next step is here for the University of Alabama.
615-737-1045. What's the dumbest thing in sports this week? We'll get to your phone calls on that and talk about A.J. Brown's comments coming up next. Welcome back to the show. Whoops. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. It's the dumbest thing in sports this week. Take your calls on it. In just a second, we got A.J. Brown stuff to play for you as well. Many thanks to Uncle Bud's. I was just telling you about them. They came in here, brought us some hats, boys. Do you partake in the trucker hats? Oh, they're being talked to right now.
We're being alerted that there's chicken and fish downstairs.
Okay, well, I offer you hats. They offer you food.
You can have your hats. No, actually, I'll take a hat. I'll take a hat, though. That's a lie.
Do hats fit your head?
I look really dumb in hats. I look like an idiot.
I look okay in this.
I went through a hat phase in college, and I looked really stupid. My head is too big.
It's so square, your head.
It is. It's strangely shaped.
Okay. Well, I think I look great in this Uncle Bud's hat. You can get one, too. And we will partake in some catfish and chicken momentarily.
Maybe I should start wearing them backwards.
No,
I think
God.
that was the key. That's probably it. Probably it.
I think you need to avoid what is he giggling about back there? I think you need to avoid any and all backwards hat wearing. Now, I also have thought in my life that the backwards hat is a good look, and then have been immediately informed, usually by women, that is a terrible look. Turn your hat the right way. You are not a 6-year-old playing softball.
So I wear them sideways. That's what you're saying.
When did that have a moment? Was that like mid-2000s, the sideways hat?
Sideways hat? I don't know.
I feel like maybe rally cap style. That's the dumbest thing in sports this week. Eric here for his weekly appearance. Hey, Eric, what's up?
Hey, guys. You know, guys, that it seems like we as a society are prisoners of the moment. We're all just love that shiny new toy. Guys, my dumbest thing in sports was all these NFL executives, draft people, and NFL talking heads who are saying that the Chicago Bears should trade Justin Fields and draft Bryce Young. This is a guy that, despite having a horrible offensive line, has no wide receivers, played his butt off, had flashes of brilliance, and now you're telling me you're going to trade him for Bryce Young, who people are questioning his size, his durability. Basically, if you're doing that, you're basically starting all over. If I'm the Bears, and I think they'll do this, they should trade the pick and try and get other draft picks and try and build around draft Justin Fields, not try and pick the new quarterback and then have to start all over, because that's basically what you're doing. Guys, that's my dumbest thing in sports. Y'all take care, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks for the call, Eric. Yeah.
Breaking Titans news on 104.5 The Zone.
Pizza.
You're a jerk. The Tennessee Titans are releasing the boy, according to the tweet, Taylor Lewan. After 9 years in the two-tone blue, I'm reading directly from Bussin' with the Boys, their Twitter account. After 9 years in the two-tone blue and being a pivotal piece in turning things around in Tennessee, the great ride has come to an end for the 3-time Pro Bowler. Okay. So Taylor Lewan is officially no longer a Titan. Now I don't know that I'm disclosing anything. He called me yesterday and I missed the call. I assume that's what this is about. But or that's what the phone call yesterday was about. But yeah. This is something we knew was coming. In fact, Lucas, can you get the audio of him on the show during Super Bowl week? Talking about kind of where he was professionally right now, because now it's a question of whether Taylor plays football in 2023.
I am not retiring from the NFL. I am not committed to playing the NFL. I am truly in a position of limbo, and I am truly in a position of peace right now. And I say that because I really feel like I'm in a win-win situation. I'm very lucky to be partnered up with Will Compton to do Bussin' with the Boys. I'm very lucky to these other networks that would like to have me on their shows. But also, the only reason why I've had these opportunities is because of football, and I absolutely love football. And I told Jim, I don't know if he wrote this in the article, if I choose to play football next year, if I decide that I'm going to play in the NFL again, I'm going to give it 100% because there is no in and out, especially when you play offensive line. If you play offensive line and you're half in, half out, you look like a damn fool, and you can get exposed very easily. I take so much pride in the career that I've been able to have up to this point, and I would not go back to play just to make a couple extra bucks. I would do it to help a team, help the Titans, help a different team, whichever it is, take the next step in their franchise.
Well, it is it's something that he is a big part of, or was a big part of, and 9 years is a long time. It went sideways really quick, though. Like the last 4 years, he's not been anywhere close to the player that I think we all still associate with that name brand. Now, I'm not, you can't fault him for injury. ACL tears are, common, and they happen with great frequency, and they're rather routine unless they get screwed up. And, it seems like he's in a situation where it wasn't necessarily handled in the best possible way, and now he's out on the street after not being able to rebound efficiently. It should be a surprise to no one. $14 million is what they save right out the gate. And it's kind of cold to do it that way, but that's the way that Rand Carthon has to do it. It's the way that Rand Carthon needs to do it. I wonder if I saw Rand was at the Preds game last night. I wonder how that conversation went down, because it's not like Carthon owes Taylor Lewan anything. It's not the person that drafted him. Hell, John Robinson wasn't the perfect person that drafted him. I'd be curious to know how that conversation went down. We'll see what happens with Taylor here in the coming weeks, and I'm sure he will be available, so we will have to touch base at some point. How would you define his legacy here? That's a tough question to answer, because there was a point in his career where he made 3 consecutive Pro Bowls and was regarded as one of the better left tackles in football. I don't think anybody at his height would put him outside the top 5 left tackles in the NFL. The PED suspension is the first thing that happened that cost him a handful of games. They played incredibly well during 2019, and he was a part of their greatest success. I think that, in a sense, and I can't speak for Titans fans, but I get the sense that Taylor Lewan may have made it fun for you guys to start to be fans again, because he came in at a time when this place was a house of horrors. And he came in a situation where left tackle wasn't a need. I think Ruse was still the left tackle at the time.
Yes, that's right.
So
an aging Michael Ruse.
So Taylor, I think that for Taylor, he was the first piece of what we associate with the turnaround of the Titans as a franchise being. He of that draft class, he lasted longer than Avery Williamson, I think was the same year. He lasted longer than any of Rustin Webster's draft picks, Marcus Mariota being one of them. He was the cornerstone of the true rebuild. You want to talk about rebuilds versus where the Titans are now? That was an actual tear-it-down situation in ways that, they needed a lot of different pieces, and Taylor was the first.
He was the longest tenured player on the team this season.
After they cut Brett Kern,
yeah,
yes.
After Kern. And so when you think about players that were part of the Ken Wisenhunt experience that transition into the Mike Vrabel AFC Championship run turnaround, the first players that come to mind are Lewan, Kern, Delaney Walker, right? In any sort of order. Am I missing anybody out of those 3 cornerstone pieces?
Casey. I mean, Jarrell Casey.
Jarrell Casey, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He belongs on that.
Man. I don't know how people are going to react to this, because people have been calling for Taylor to be gone for a long time. At least whether it's a majority, whether it's a loud minority, I don't know. But how will you remember Taylor Lewan's time with the Titans? 615-737-1045. Now, he's just tweeted, I hope I did enough to create something all of Titans fans can be proud of. I love you all, is what he has said. Simple as that. So, few words for somebody who is known for having a big mouth. I think that this part of it is the direction that we knew they needed to head, but I also think it signals a substantial shift in where this organization is about to be. Because we have all, I think, been kind of coming to terms with the idea of, this iteration of the Titans is kind of dead. With Taylor Lewan, with Brett Kern, with Jarrell Casey, with Delaney Walker, you go through the list. I guess Kevin Byard is a part of this regime. Derrick Henry is, probably closer towards the end of his football career than the beginning of his football career at this point, being 29 years old. And then the question becomes, what's next?
Or who's next?
That's, I guess, how I should have phrased it. Who is next?
That's $14.8 million off the books. No dead money with Taylor Lewan being cut. Now your attention turns to probably the defense, right?
So maybe, I don't think it necessarily has to go offense, defense, defense.
I'm talking about one of the two prime candidates on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, Cunningham makes the most sense to be next. And we've talked about this. We expected cuts to be coming down before the combine. And now left tackle becomes the number one need, full stop, for the Tennessee Titans, and that's where your draft attention turns. So I think Cunningham makes the most sense to go. I think Kevin Byard is kind of the standout of all of this. KB is in a contract situation that, they theoretically could move on from Kevin and Derrick Henry if they wanted to.
But with Kevin Byard, that would be in a trade, right?
Well, they did restructure his deal. So I'm just saying, there is nothing there. There is nothing that will, I guess, get Titans fans to come to terms with their favorite players being moved on from. Taylor's a big one, right? He's a big personality. He's one of the most famous Tennessee Titans. He's a name and a face and an entity that is recognizable across the NFL, and it's one of the things that people most associate with this team. Now, a lot of that is because he's very front-facing. He's got a podcast, and his play has not been the thing that he's been known for more of late. In fact, I think last year, before the season, I wrote that Taylor Lewan, maybe in training camp, I wrote that he needs to become famous for football again as opposed to podcasting, if that is indeed the trajectory that his career is on. And there's, what's to say that he's going to continue his football career. He has time to figure it out now. He's going to have offers. And whether he decides to go do a one-year deal or a short-term deal somewhere else versus continuing to have this media space be the wild, wild west for him, as he can. He's going to have options beyond just bussing with the boys. Man, I think that with Taylor, they're losing one of the most dynamic pieces of that era of Titans football that they've had. But it's just unfortunate for him that his career didn't end the way that I know he wanted it to, because he wanted to. They all want to end with the teams that ultimately draft them. But, this is what the new GM is here to do. Make the emotionless, to an extent, decisions that are in the best interest of the football team. And right now what they're telling you is that it's in the best interest of the football team to move on from Taylor Lewan.
Yeah, with respect to Lewan, and Lewan has basically said this, a no-brainer for Rand Carthon. As much of a no-brainer as it gets when it comes to cap casualties. And now you just look at who's next. And when you bring up Kevin Byard in that, are you talking about Kevin Byard as a potential cap casualty? Because that would make
No. I'm just saying, Kevin, they are going to cut Kevin Byard. They're going to move on from Kevin Byard at some point. They're going to cut Derrick Henry. They're going to move on from Derrick Henry at some point.
Right.
Taylor is the first big domino in all of this. I guess Jarrell kind of. Jarrell was the first big one that I think kind of shook people up about where the Titans were right now. Then you go on from how things ended with Marcus Mariota. That's a different conversation, but still one that was emotional for people. Now Taylor Lewan. We're getting closer to people like Derrick Henry and Kevin Byard being the next names on the chopping block at some point in the future.
I think you need to clarify with that you're not talking about this offseason, because financially it would make no sense to cut Kevin Byard right now.
Okay, but what about the other one? What about Derrick Henry?
Derrick Henry would be much more likely to be cut as a cap casualty than Kevin Byard. Kevin Byard, has, I just had in front of me, over $13.5 million in dead money, and you would save $6 million if you cut it.
Yeah, they move money around. They move money around on Kevin's contract.
But I'm saying you would find a trade partner for Kevin Byard, likely.
Buddy, I'm not talking about Kevin Byard as cap casualties. Okay.
You brought him up. So.
I'm just saying, as a part of the generation of Titans players, get out of here. Stop trying to shove your spot track down my throat.
This is about this offseason, though. Okay. Talking about who's next this offseason.
No, but it's large. No, I'm not having I have all offseason to talk about this damn offseason. I'm having a different conversation about a generation of football players that are about to no longer be here and about what the significance of that is to a community, because this dude has been a massive part. And I don't just say this because I got a relationship with him and because he's been a giant pain in my ass for 9 years, or I guess 7 since I came down here. I'm talking about the kind of headspace that Titans fans are about to be in, and maybe most of you are over that. Just give me a better football team than the one that I had. I don't care about the pieces and parts that are broken anymore. That's what I'm talking about. I can give a bleep about this offseason today. I got 3 months to talk about this offseason.
But you are right. One day, Kevin Byard will not play for the Tennessee Titans anymore. It's a great point by you.
Thank you. Jeez. So angry at you. Oh, my God. Now, from a personal standpoint, we're going to miss him because he's a great quote. He's a great quote. And I've enjoyed working with Taylor. I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon, working around Taylor, and he may well be a media colleague in the weeks and months to come. I guess he technically already is. But I think that the situation for Taylor, I've enjoyed very much having him here. And, as we look to things from a selfish standpoint, I miss guys like Delaney and Jarrell and Taylor and, hell, even A.J. Brown, Roger Saffold, guys who are willing to have a conversation with you, Logan Ryan. They are losing a lot of those dudes who like to tell you about what's going on with your football team. And it's just a very quiet place anymore. 615-737-1045. Alvin in Nashville is next. Hey, Alvin.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Hey, I was gonna say, man, hey, respect to Taylor Warren. Hey, when he came out of Michigan, he was a damn good football player. I'm just gonna keep it real. He was a good football player. Just to be honest, when he started that busting with the boys thing, it's kind of like, hey, where your head at? You in the game or, what's going on? I also wanted to speak on, y'all said who's next. Why not Ryan Tannehill? I don't hear nobody talking about this. They want to say keep Ryan Tannehill, but the Super Bowl window is closing. Why pay somebody to be on the roster just to, be over 500? I mean, that's cool and all, but I thought the goal is to win a Super Bowl.
All right.
Tell me if I'm wrong.
Alvin. Okay, 2 things that I want follow-ups on. Would you accuse Von Miller, Russell Wilson, any number of NFL players that now are active and have podcasts of not having their head in the game, or are they just trying to capitalize on their platform?
No, I mean, of course, do that. I mean, capitalize on your platform. My thing is, you got to understand from a fan's point of view, where's your head at? Is it in the podcast or is it in the playbook? Are you looking at the game?
Well, it's about their bank. Like that. That's I think is the biggest misconception. And hang with me, Alvin, because I've got one more follow-up for you. I think that's the biggest misconception about professional athletes. Do you see how many dudes were just not interested in playing in the NBA All-Star game this weekend? They just don't care. Yeah. It's not as deep to them as it is to you. Like that, and I understand that that's kind of counterintuitive because you want your dudes to care as much about playing for your team as you do, but that's just not the nature of the business element of football. They're trying to get the bag for as long as they can get the bag. Now, to your point about Tannehill, what's your solution at quarterback?
Hey, I say, I heard Blaine talk the other day about bringing in Sam Darnold. I know it might sound crazy, but the man can throw. I mean, but this is my thing. Let me ask you a question, since you asked me a question. If you keep Tannehill, I understand your question is what's next, but if you keep Tannehill and you above 500, you got to think, we already don't have no draft picks this year. You're going to probably be, 20th, 25th? What's your solution to quarterback then? We don't have any money. What you going to do? I say this year you trade back, try out the first round if you can. Because, I mean, what solution do you have? Just stay above 500? You're not going to the Super Bowl. Tannehill messed that up when he did the 2 interceptions.
Alvin, I appreciate you. Okay.
Breaking Titans news on 104.5 The Zone.
All right. I don't want to do this with you all week. I'm already tired.
Oh, it's too late for that.
The Titans are releasing wide receiver Robert Woods per Jordan Schultz. Robert Woods, the next name on the chopping block. So they did not stick with your defense, turning your attention to the defense first. They have decided instead of restructuring Robert Woods that they have had enough of the Robert Woods experience under Rand Carthon. There we go. Moves are being made, kids. This is head on a swivel season. And with everything that's happening, why don't we talk about what the implications of these two releases and what's more to come coming up next? You think that's what Rand Carthon's singing around the office today? Easy as ABC, making some cuts, baby. 1, 2, 3. Bad things come in threes. Maybe not bad things. Hey, guess what? Titans were $26 million over the cap. You know how much money they just saved? Anybody tell me?
What's 14 plus 12?
Uh-oh. Math. Anybody in the back? 14 plus 12. Anybody got me? That's $26 million, kids. So they're now cap compliant on February 22nd, ahead of the March 15th deadline for them to do so. So anything else that they cut now, it's gravy. That's all it took. That's why it's important to do these moves now to put yourself in the best possible position to prepare for what you got ahead. Because what you got ahead is a hellacious offseason with a lot of different moves like this that are going to be made. I started laughing. Do you know what I just saw come across my timeline? It's from V-Love. Can you guess what it is?
What's that?
At Titans, please release the PA guy next.
When V-Love hates, he hates hard.
Buddy. I feel bad for this PA guy. Like, this PA guy, he can't. So I don't hear him in the press box.
I don't either.
You don't. Well, you got Mike and Max screaming next to you the whole game. You're a little closer than I am, I guess. But yeah, that's just funny. So Robert Woods out, Taylor Lewan out. Should you expect more cuts today? I would say it's entirely possible.
Why not? Right? Like we said, the no-brainers. If they are indeed no-brainers.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's no good reason. The only one that's not a no-brainer to me that's left is Dupree, is Tannehill. I don't think Tannehill's a no-brainer. And I don't think, and I say this only because of the situation that the contract is right now. I'm not saying that I expect it or that you should expect it, but I'm just saying Derrick Henry is in a position where they would save money by releasing him. So, just to have it out there. It's not 10 deep breaths, okay? But Keisha Rainey on Facebook Live, you can interact with the show, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Keisha says, yeah, Rand went to that Preds game last night and boom, started making some cuts. Well, he probably made his decisions last night and was like, you know what, I'm going to go take a beat. I'm going to go relax. I'm going to enjoy a Preds game. I saw Malik was there too. But, man, Cunningham needs to go as the next one. So here are the numbers just to kind of refresh your memory on who and what makes the most sense at this point to kind of take a look at the Titans cap situation. There's a lot going on there, but we've been talking about these same four names for quite some time. So Bud Dupree is on a 5-year, $82.5 million deal at this point. Robert Woods was on a $65 million deal. Zach Cunningham, his total value was $33 million. And then Taylor Lewan, who it looks like, man, over the cap works fast. They already got Taylor Lewan the hell out of there. Yikes. So.
Probably had a preset on that. Just set it up to where just hit F8 and it'll adjust.
All right, so here's the numbers on Dupree. He is scheduled to make a base salary of $17 million. Only $1.25 million of that salary is guaranteed. He has a cap hit of 20.2 this coming year, which would account for 8.8% of the cap. They can save a little less, $9.35 million if they cut him. If they cut him pre-June 1st. Now, like Tannehill, he also has post-June 1st savings. The dead money drops to 4.45, down from 10. And the savings become $15.75 million.
Basically, that $6 million just gets shifted over.
Mm-hmm. And Tannehill the same. It goes from 18.8 to 27 and change. Should they do it pre-June 1st or post-June 1st? I don't think Dupree is a gimme because I do think that the pass rush matters and that there is something salvageable there. But $9 million is a lot for a dude. $9 million worth of savings is a lot for a dude who just doesn't play in the last couple of seasons or while he's been with the Titans. And you understand the situation that they signed him under with the ACL. And you know that the ACL was not an issue for him last year. It just became literally two hips and a pec injury. So with all that being said, Dupree and then Cunningham, who you take a look at here, and the savings are not quite as big on Zach Cunningham, but it's still substantial, where he has a cap hit of 13.42 in 2023. His dead number is 4.5, and his total savings would then be $8.92 million. So it's basically 9 and change and almost 9, basically $18 million to get rid of Bud Dupree and Zach Cunningham when you're already cap compliant with those first two releases. So it's about how much more you want to get into free agency. Do you want $18 million to spend? Do you want to restructure some deals at this point? Is Derrick Henry or Ryan Tannehill a restructure candidate at this point? Shouldn't they both be? What does this tell you? What do these first two moves tell you about Rand Carthon? 615-737-1045. We'll get into that coming up next in the final hour. We got a lot of Titans to talk and potentially more cap casualties that you will hear about in the coming hours. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone.
It is 12 o'clock. Good afternoon from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. New Titans general manager Rand Carthon has officially started to make moves. 2 cap casualties in the rear view for the Tennessee Titans. According to Bussin' with the Boys, the Titans have released offensive lineman Taylor Lewan, who has spent the entirety of his 9-year NFL career with the two-tone blue. That move will save approximately $14 million in cap space for the Titans. And following that up, Jordan Schultz reporting the Titans have released wide receiver Robert Woods. That clears up another $12 million in cap space. According to Over the Cap, the Tennessee Titans currently have $2.9 million of cap room. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once in your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Final hour, and it is a spicy one. Cap casualties, heads are rolling, at least locally around the St. Thomas Sports Park at this point. Titans have already released, according to reports, Taylor Lewan and Robert Woods. How many more are to come, and what does it tell you about the direction that the organization is heading? We knew things like this were going to happen for quite some time, but now that they are officially upon us, what's it tell you? 615-737-1045 is the number. So they are already cap compliant with $26 million in change that they were over prior to these two things today. Lewan off the books, Woods off the books, 26 and some change. So now the attention turns to guys like Bud Dupree, to Zach Cunningham, more difficult decisions like Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry, both who have substantial cap hits in 2023. If it's not a release, is it a restructure? If it's not a restructure, is it a trade? All the different options that are on the table, and the combine right around the corner. In fact, Bud, we're going to be up there a week from today. Excited?
I am excited. Be a busy week in Indianapolis.
It's a busy week. This is setting up for an even busier week in Indianapolis, at least locally. Anyway.
What, because of the cuts?
Yeah.
You figured these were going to come down this week, right? And Rhett was saying it on here on Monday, like, hey, head on a swivel. There's no point in waiting before the combine to start to make these moves.
No, it's standard. It's just I haven't seen teams elsewhere. I haven't seen substantial cuts made elsewhere yet.
That's true.
You know, I think they're kind of first out here with their big name. Now they have a more I think they have a more cut and dried, like, hey, we were going to release these big names coming up anyway than a lot of other teams. And by nature of having a new general manager, all these things, like, it's going to happen.
There's probably not a ton of other big name contracts that shake out to where there's $0 in dead money and over $14 million in savings.
No. Your phone calls, though, 615-737-1045. How you feel about it? Thad in Nashville up first. Hey, Thad.
Hey, Buck. Long-time listener. I haven't ever called in to you, so happy to talk to you guys.
Lovely.
I wanted to reach out and give a fan's perspective, man. I'm diehard. I watch every single game, every single year. Robert Woods sucks. He kind of reminded me a little bit of a slightly older Nate Washington. I wish it was a better situation, but it is what it is. As far as Taylor goes, I just wanted to touch bases on him. He definitely falls under the Delaney Walker, Jarrell Casey umbrella. In my opinion, as a fan, the one thing that he brought, especially when he came, I can't remember the guy who was running as the owner back then. I think his name was Tommy something. But we got pushed around, you know what I mean? The 2-14, 3-13 season. One thing I always remember about Lewan was the game against the Seahawks, where Richard Sherman hit Mariota out of bounds, and Lewan literally pushed his face through Sherman's face, you know what I mean, on the sideline. So the one thing I'll say about Lewan is he kind of gave us a identity. You're not going to push us around. We're going to push you around. So I just want to throw that out there. Love the show. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the call, Thad. Lucas whispered in my ear, make him say it. Make him say, long-time listener, first-time caller.
First time, long time. Thank you, Thad.
Hey, you know what Robert Woods just tweeted? Free.
Agent.
Free. Hey, I'm going to steal that. I'm telling you on the front end, I'm stealing that right now. That's incredible. Now I heard he and Vrabel had an interaction that was not ideal after the Chiefs game, where Mike, remember famously,
Ed Werder, right?
Ed Werder's quote about about basically why are you running Derrick Henry so much, and Mike's response was, who the bleep would we throw it to? And it's a comment made by a head coach in the media that is not necessarily supporting the wide receivers on the current roster. And it was my understanding that Robert Woods, who is perpetual good soldier and who is now expressing frustrations, even though he's free now, agent. That's such a good joke by you. I hit you over the head so often with how bad your jokes are. That was a really, really good joke by you. I'm proud of you. I just want you to know. I had heard that they had gotten into a discussion, a strongly worded discussion, about the idea that the head coach was talking publicly in the media while telling the players to not talk about their frustrations in the media, and that was not necessarily received well by the head coach at the time. So, I don't think it was the smoothest landing spot for Robert. It was obviously a difficult year for a lot of people, and now he hits free agency as a 31-year-old. The production, or lack thereof, which is probably the way that. And by the way, I truly enjoyed Robert in the small sample size that I got to work with him. He is what people say he is. He is a very, very honest, forthright, calming presence in a locker room who just couldn't get the job done this year. And that's, you can hammer him for it if you want to. I think it was a really deeply unfair situation that he got dropped into the middle of, and then ultimately ended up having to shoulder a lot of that burden. But he couldn't step up in ways that this football team needed him to this season, and ultimately was not able to deliver. Now he is tweeting free ! Wow. Johnny, who is on his way back from Indianapolis, apparently. Hey, Johnny.
Hey, fellas. Can you hear me okay?
Sure can.
All right, super. I'll try to keep this short. My first impression of our new GM is that he's definitely got the organization headed in the right direction. And I say that because what I learned from today's goings-on was that the man knows how to add and subtract. So, good math skills being critical at this stage and in that job, I think it's all good. That's about all I got. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for the call, Johnny.
All right.
Short and sweet. We appreciate it. Yeah, he knew, he being Rand, knew that he had a lot of heavy lifting to do coming in here. Now, it's a circumstance where these decisions are not necessarily difficult for somebody who's looking from the outside in and saying, okay, what is this football team right now? What does it need to be? And how much further is it going to take for us to get there? And I think with that, it becomes a much simpler decision than a lot of us may think it is. It is what he was brought in here to do. He was brought in here to correct the course that this team was on, which is that of, in a state of decay, roster-wise. And, in fact, we had a lot of this A.J. Brown stuff from the Raw Room that we're not going to get to today, obviously. But I want you to hear the clip of A.J. talking about the Titans' offensive signals, Lucas, when you have a chance, because it speaks to a larger issue with what this team is beyond personnel, what they were schematically in 2021 and 2022. This was A.J. Brown on the Raw Room podcast speaking about the Titans playing the Eagles.
I can say this now that we'd already played them. Oh, I gave every detail. I gave every detail. As you should. To Philly, I'm talking about the cans, everything. I gave it all. What? I gave it all, bro. Like, because they don't change nothing.
yeah.
Well, yeah, if you
They
don't
don't
change, that's on
change
you,
nothing.
bro.
I'm literally, I talked to the guy. I talked to one of the guys, defensive guy. It was like, hey, what does this mean? What does this mean? I said, bro, just send me a game film, bro. I'll tell you what all this means. I'm listening to the TV copy. I'm flipping to the TV copy. Like you just said, 19-1, 18-1, can. I'm like, listen, bro. They canning it, bro. It's a pack. I mean, it's a run play or something like that, or a check. You know what I'm saying? Or it's a. I'm it up right now, but because it's long gone. But I gave every little detail, the signals, the everything. They don't change none of that stuff. I'm like, bro, we ran the same play like a million times across the middle, bro. Like I give you that. I give you the route, bro. It's a bang gate and it's a readout on the backside. I'm giving you that. I told Slate, get inside. He's gonna work out there. Wait on it.
Just wait on it. Hey, man, looking at this right now, calling whoever the OC is. Change all that.
You know I say it now, bro.
You're right.
But yeah, bro, like, and then it's so easy, like, you know what I'm saying? Just like, all right, Cleveland, that's the L word. The ball is going left. Like, and he'll say a right word, like it's going right. I'm telling you, like,
I mean, that's old school.
I mean, I'm like, it's not that hard, bro. So I'm giving up everything, you know. But the whole time watching the game, we getting all these sacks. I'm like, man, just don't hurt my dog Ryan. Don't hurt my dog Ryan.
Just don't hurt my dog Ryan, but everything they do is the exact same. Woo! So it's not just the roster that needs a cleanse, for lack of a better term. Take more of your phone calls on the see. Now I need executive discretion here, and you're the closest thing we have to an executive around here, which I don't know how that makes you feel. You suit.
What do you want?
Can we put Bates on the radio?
I love Darren Bates.
Yeah, okay. but
I don't even need to finish the sentence.
Yeah, it took him 15 seconds to drop the F-bomb last time on a terrible Zoom connection. Unbelievable. All right, more of your phone calls on the roster cuts coming up next. We'll get into a discussion about where the Titans need to go next and how much further it's going to take to get them there. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
Hey guys, Lucas Panzica here, and you know that Nashville Soccer Club kicks off the 2023 season at Geodis Park this Saturday, 3:30 kickoff against the 2021 MLS Cup champions, New York City FC. And you may have seen the Man in Black Johnny Cash jersey floating around. They will be sporting those kits on Saturday, and I want you to be there with me, chimichanga in hand, watching NashvilleSC.com. /2022 Tix. 2022 TIX. That's where you go to get season tickets, get your group together, 10 or more people, get your coworkers, your family, your friends, and join the crowd with tickets for your group starting at only $22 per person. Again, that's NashvilleSC.com /2022 Tix, the Nashville SC team store, open in Geodis Park, the official headquarters for all things Nashville SC. It's located right inside the stadium, situated on the North Plaza off Benton Avenue. If you're just driving by the stadium and you want to pop in before the game, get your 2023 season gear and be ready for Saturday's 3:30 kickoff against NYC FC. That's NashvilleSC.com /2022 Tix, and come on in to Geodis Park in 2023.
All along the watchtower, man, head on a swivel. It's what it is at this time of year in the NFL, and it's gotten started here locally. Across the league, you haven't seen major cuts come down. Derek Carr, probably the biggest name so far, biggest position, certainly quarterback, but the Titans doing some of their dirty work today. Taylor Lewan, Robert Woods out. As of now, one would assume more names to come in the coming days, maybe not even days, in the coming hours at this point. They're probably going through a variety of different situations right now. Now, nothing has been made official by the team, by the way. It's simply Taylor Lewan on his podcast's Twitter account and Robert Woods confirming from his own Twitter account that both have been released at this time. No word yet on Ryan Tannehill, Bud Dupree, Zach Cunningham, and again, I include it just because of the state that his contract is in, Derrick Henry right now, whether that's cut, trade, restructure, whatever. Guys who are in interesting contract situations. Roger in Columbia is up next. Hey, Roger.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Doing great.
So my question is the expectation versus the reality. If I was playing Madden right now and I was trying to restructure the entire Titans organization, number one, the Titans have had the most injuries in the NFL. Am I correct with that?
They are among, well, at least over the last 2 seasons combined, they're the most injured team in football, yeah.
So what would be a fix for that?
I couldn't tell you. Don't tear your ACL.
We wouldn't be here if we had those answers.
Yeah.
But what I'm asking
I don't
is,
know, man.
if we were playing Madden right now and we could get Evan Ingram, if we could get Daniel Jones, if we could get Saquon Barkley, if we could get T. Higgins, if we could make our perfect team, would it still be a perfect team by the end of the season? Would we be able to stay healthy enough to make that run? Is the expectation for the Titans to win a Super Bowl within the next 5 years, or to be restructuring, remaking this entire team into something that can make that run in the future? What should Titans fans expect during these next few months?
Well, I think that's a question a lot of people are asking themselves, Roger, especially if you're somebody who's financially invested in this team, shall we say, season tickets and things of the like.
I would like to thank Roger for talking about building a perfect team with Daniel Jones as your quarterback.
I didn't even notice that. Are we in such a seventh circle of hell situation?
Well, you can just have anyone you want, right? Saquon, running back. T. Higgins, get him from the Bengals. Daniel Jones.
He named 3 former or current Giants and then T. Higgins. What the bleep?
Tyler on YouTube says, my man is playing Madden and he picks Daniel Jones.
I'm so mad. But you know what? Over the last 6 weeks of football, I don't think there was a better quarterback than Daniel Jones. Give him his flowers. But yeah, no, I don't want to live that life.
As a Daniel Jones stan, is that what they say? Stan? I appreciate that.
Is that what who says? Who?
Them, the kids. I don't know who Stan is or what he wants.
Don't make this
what
worse.
They say.
Don't make this worse. God. I'm already fighting aging. That's tough. But here's my thing. Okay, what should your expectation be about, and he brought up a Super Bowl window of the next 5 years. So I think it's fair to say, at this point, the Titans are not in their current Super Bowl window anymore. The team that was constructed to make a Super Bowl run is being blowed up at present, where it starts with basically 2019 and everything kind of in decay since 2019. Where 2020 was still a big season, but, there was obviously some flaws there. The defense was a nightmare. You couldn't win anything with that defense. Ironically enough, the defense played pretty well at home against Lamar Jackson in the playoffs, and the offense couldn't get anything done after being the best offense in the history of Titans football, Titans-era football. So then, what do the next 5 years look like for this team? Well, here's the thing. I wish I could give you an answer to that question right now, but I cannot give you an answer to that question until I know who the hell is their quarterback. I don't know what the expectation is for that. I don't know who's going to be at the most important position for them under center. I know that Ryan Tannehill's under contract, and I know that the quarterback marketplace is an absolute bleep show. So to say anything definitively about their future, it changes drastically if they trade up. I mean, 11 is a reasonable place to trade up for a quarterback in this year's draft. I think the Rams in the Goff draft went from 15 to 1. So it's not untenable. You'd just be giving up a ton to go up and get that guy. If I'm operating under the assumption that you can, that you're moving forward with Ryan Tannehill for at least a year, well, then it's just a year. And I can't tell you what the next 4 years beyond Ryan Tannehill are going to look like. Does that dude get an extension? Where is Malik Willis in all this? This is as uncertain a space as they have been in since prior to drafting Marcus Mariota. Because even Marcus, they fired that staff, brought in Vrabel, and said, okay, we're here to maximize the potential of players that we don't feel are being maximized, was basically the company line. And Vrabel was able to do that to an extent. Then they got 6 games into 2019. Marcus wasn't feasible anymore. They had traded for Ryan Tannehill. They rebooted the thing, and they went to the AFC Championship game. And that's where they peaked. So peaking in a Super Bowl window in the game before the Super Bowl, but never getting back in that window, yeah, it's a failure. But that was your best shot. And now you're talking about, well, you can do a lot of the same things with some of the same pieces, but to project out 5 years, but I wish I could tell you. I have. Here's what I'll do, all right? I can't tell you what your expectations should be, but I'll tell you what my expectations are right now. I have 0 expectations for this football team in 2023. None whatsoever. I have no idea what the hell they're going to look like. I don't know what's going to be different about the coaching, or rather the schematics of it, if at all. Their roster is undergoing significant turnover. So if you're asking about my expectations, I got 0 expectations for them. I don't know what the bleep they are right now. I sure as hell didn't know what they were at the end of the season. And that, until there's things that happen, most consequentially, the quarterback, I don't know how anybody could project out that far at this point. It's February 22nd, though. We got a lot of time. Kenston in Memphis is next. Hey, Kenston.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Question, but with the releases, I never understood, everybody, we've been talking for months about Lewan, Cunningham, Dupree as cut candidates, but why the team never kind of does it in one fell swoop? I mean, they may do it later today, but sometimes it comes a few a day, some later next week, maybe. It's kind of, if they've identified the guys like we have, why don't they all do it at one time? Thanks for the call, Buck.
Hey, thank you for the call. So I think it depends, right? Because not all situations are created equal. Now, here's what I'll say. They may have made another cut, multiple cuts that we don't know about. It's just that Robert Woods and Taylor Lewan went to social media right afterwards.
Well, no, they got leaked in different avenues.
They're not getting put in. So Lewan gave his podcast the news, so his podcast can get picked up for traction. Jordan Schultz probably talked to Robert Woods' agent, and I'm not trying to out anybody's sources, but then once Robert Woods sees that the news is out there, he's comfortable going on his own social media and saying, hey, I'm out. It's entirely possible that Zach Cunningham, Bud Dupree, or somebody else has already been released. Their agent hasn't talked to the media yet, or they themselves have not taken to their own social media platforms. And by the way, the team has not made any of these things official. So the team is probably waiting to put out one press release that's got a list of names that they're making cuts on this first time around. And so you'll see stuff like that get leaked out because it's coming through different avenues. When the team puts it out, they're trying to do it in one fell swoop because they don't want to deal with multiple tweets of them releasing Taylor Lewan and releasing Bud Dupree and releasing, they don't want that in their mentions necessarily.
If you had to guess on who would be next, we'll say between Cunningham and Dupree, who would you say?
I have to think that Cunningham is the easier decision. And by the way, that's with no information. I don't know what they're going to do regarding either of those two right now. I just think it's a cleaner kill, for lack of a better term, with Cunningham than it is with Bud Dupree, even as Titans fans' frustrations and the organization, by the way, they're not happy at the fact that they gave this dude $82.5 million on a contract. I know it's not fully guaranteed, but that they gave this dude an $82+ million contract and that he plays half the games in the last couple of seasons.
Also less dead money for Zach Cunningham, like $6 million less. And it's essentially, it's about $9 million in savings for each.
Yeah. And by the way, I think that I think Bud is worth keeping. I do. Because he makes a difference in that pass rush when he's out there. Now, I can't guarantee that his health's going to be any better than it has been the last 2 seasons. And maybe
7 sacks in 2 years for Bud Dupree.
How many games, though? I don't care about the sacks. I know people care about the sacks. I care about the games. Like, how many games has he been present in? Because there's sacks that he's helped create for Jeff, for D'Amico, for other players. Like, that exists. So let's be smarter in the discussion around
11
Dupree.
games each.
Oof. Oh, each?
Each season. Sorry,
Okay.
not total.
I was like, what?
No. 22 games total. 11 games per regular season that he's been here. So he's missed exactly 6 games in each season he's been here. Right? The 17-game season.
So he played as many games as Traylon Burks did last year.
Am I crazy when the 17 games started last year or this past year?
Last year.
21.
Yeah, 21.
Was the first 17-game season.
Yeah, so technically 2 seasons
He has
ago.
missed 12 games in 2 years.
Poor Robert Woods. He tweeted free, and now people are tweeting it's pretty rare to see a player tweet his own market value.
Oof.
It's so mean. What? Robert Woods didn't do anything but try and help you. And he couldn't. Shameful. Rick in Hendersonville next. Hey, Rick.
Hey, question, guys. What would be the financial differential for the Titans between cutting Derrick Henry or trading him?
Rick, I'm sorry. I know you're asking a question about Derrick Henry. Yeah.
Breaking Titans news on 104.5 The Zone.
All right, so this is officially from the team for Kenston asking earlier why they don't do it at once. Taylor Lewan, Robert Woods, Randy Bullock, all released by the team just now immediately. So Taylor Lewan, Robert Woods, and Randy Bullock all officially released.
Who had the Bullock news?
The team.
Oh, so the team has officially put out those 3.
Yeah, we just got an email.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that make you think that that's all we'll see today?
Yes. I don't think they want to go through multiple releases.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm saying. So I think that is that's the spot. Now, Randy, what's Randy's contract situation?
That saves them just over $2 million. Almost exactly $2 million, and it's only $500,000 in dead money.
Okay, I'm with that. Yeah. I mean, Randy was serviceable. He was better than serviceable. He was reliable for a period of time, and I think that they can be. Now, I say that casually, as if this team wasn't one in. I think it was 2019, the year that they went through the AFC Championship. Didn't they go through 6 kickers that season? So I should not say casually that the situation.
Many of whom have jobs elsewhere, right? Like Cairo Santos. I don't know if Santos is still in the league, but
Cairo Santos was somewhere else. Who was the last one?
Greg Joseph.
Asserted my dominance.
Who had a nice year in Minnesota, like a really nice year.
Sam Ficken, I think, is still on the roster, technically. As far as I know, they just kind of shelved him after that Atlanta preseason game that he got hurt in.
Yeah, Santos is with the Bears.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, there was a couple. Suckup is still obviously getting jobs.
Yeah.
I think Ryan Santoso was on a roster somewhere, and that dude was just like a kickoff specialist.
And not even that season, but when you bring up names like Michael Badgley kicking to open the season in 2021.
That's right.
And
because
Josh
Ficken
Lambo
got hurt.
And Lambo in Green Bay. Like the amount of kickers, not just that season, but that's like 9-10 kickers in the Vrabel era.
Oh, how about this? Do you know why they released Lewan?
Because it saves them $14.8 million.
Well, that probably helps, but
yeah.
But no, failed physical designation.
Oh, who had that?
Taylor. It's in the release. That's kind of crazy. Man, I hope for his sake that knee is right, because you would hate you hate for anybody's career to come to an end not on their own terms. But yeah, Titans made the following transactions, released from the roster: Randy Bullock, Robert Woods. Taylor didn't pass his physical.
So that probably eliminates the idea of bringing him back on less money, right?
I would think so.
And he probably gets released either way.
Man. Yeah, no, he gets released either way.
Right. But this,
the failed physical designation makes it even there's no question at that point.
Yeah, that he's not coming back.
Yeah. All right, is Rick in Hendersonville still on the line? I'm sorry, Rick. I got completely
I am.
I'm so sorry.
No problem whatsoever.
Please ask your question again if you wouldn't mind.
What would be the financial differential to the Titans between releasing Derrick Henry or trading him? Is there a difference?
Okay. Yeah, we can absolutely do that. Thank you for the call, Rick. 615-737-1045. We'll get back to the phones in just a second. So let's take a look at Derrick Henry's contract. Derrick Henry right now is slated to make $10.5 million as a base salary. He's got a cap hit of 16.3, dead money of 10.1. So they would save a little north of 6 if they cut Derrick Henry today. Now, if they were to trade him pre-June 1st, they can just save that entire contract. If they get somebody to assume Derrick Henry's contract, that whole deal comes off the books. Now, I'm looking here at a situation where if they trade him post June 1st, they can save. Well, this is interesting. If they trade him, and I guess this is the difference between trading him and cutting him, but if they trade him post June 1st, the dead money on that traded deal goes to 5.3, and the savings goes to 11 million if they traded him to a team and a team ended up cutting him. So that's the difference in the money. The only time there would be a difference in the money is if they're trading him pre-June 1st versus post-June 1st. If they're trading him pre-June 1st and they're assuming the contract, then that team becomes financially responsible for Derrick Henry's deal. Now, there is a scenario where the team could negotiate, okay, you're going to pay X amount of Derrick Henry's contract, then trade him to us and keep some of the money on the books that way. That was the case. Julio Jones, I believe, was a situation where Atlanta paid a part of his remaining contract for the Titans to be able to give up a second-round pick to get him. But I know if it wasn't Julio, I know there's precedent for that being the case, teams continuing to pay a portion of the salary. In fact, Miami with Tannehill. Miami paid a part of Ryan Tannehill's salary to get him to Tennessee. So that's where we are right now. And 3 releases made official by the team after the first round of cuts today. Taylor Lewan, Robert Woods, Randy Bullock, savings of about $28 million right now. I think that you can't say definitively that they won't, or at least that anything else won't be reported today. Whether the team makes it official today or not is a different discussion. But I would imagine this is the first round of releases that you'll see, and that you'll continue to see some action with that before everybody heads up to Indianapolis in less than a week. Last call for phone calls, 615-737-1045. We'll get to your phone calls. We'll wrap up the show. Blaine and Mickey, of course, will continue to talk about this, as will 3HL, so don't worry. You can still have your opinion heard on the Titans roster releases throughout the course of the day right here on 104.5 The Zone. I'm Buck Rising. Wrapping up on this Wednesday. Roster Reaper is out. Heads are rolling. Woods, Bullock, Lewan first to go. So we'll keep an eye on how these things continue to progress here in the next couple of days, what the reporting around it's going to be. But those are the names that you need to know as of today. Last call for phone calls, 615-737-1045 before we do some polls. Eli in Waverly is next. Hey, Eli.
Hey, what's up?
How much, buddy?
Hey, what's up? Yeah, so I was just wondering what your thoughts on keeping Ryan Tannehill or trading or cutting him and deciding to go with Derek Carr.
No, I don't like that. What else you got for me?
Okay. Are you willing to take on the amount of money that Lamar Jackson is asking for in an upgrade?
So basically, you asking me if I want Lamar Jackson on the Titans? I mean, sure. Would I be willing to take that on? Yeah, but do you care about keeping Jeff Simmons? Because that factors in. To ask me about Carr, no, I don't want a lateral move quarterback. If you're talking about upgrading, Derek Carr is not a better player at the position than Ryan Tannehill is. In fact, Ryan Tannehill, beyond Aaron Rodgers, is the best quarterback option for teams who need a quarterback right now, who would be theoretically gettable. Now, Lamar, Lamar would be great, but you probably have to move on from the idea of re-signing Jeff to a contract extension, because once you forsake the rookie quarterback situation or a reasonable quarterback contract, which, by the way, $36 million cap hit for Ryan Tannehill doesn't sound so bad when you're looking at Lamar talking about 50, Daniel Jones talking about 45. It's just kind of the marketplace for quarterback right now. So if you think you can win with a lesser quarterback, figure out a way to do it, because that's basically what you're doing with a rookie quarterback contract. Thanks for the call, Eli. Cheeseburger in Nashville next. Hey, Cheeseburger.
What's going on, Buck? How you doing today?
Good, buddy. Thanks for the call.
I'm doing good too, man. You want me to sing you a song today? I will. Put you in a good mood today.
We got a lot of moving parts, Cheeseburger. Maybe skip the song this week. What you got for me, brother?
I completely disagree, Cheeseburger. Sing the song at your leisure.
Okay, after this, my question. I've heard talks about maybe Titans, maybe giving up Tannehill, maybe trading away, maybe us getting like the 49ers quarterback Trey Lance. And I've heard talk about, Aaron Rodgers coming here. I just want to see what your take on that is. And also, it's the Buck Rising Show all day, every day. 104.5 The Zone. It's a Cheeseburger and Buck show all day. Yeah, Cheeseburger Buck, Lucas Panzica, all day, every day, representing the zone. Out in the streets in Nashville, Cassville. Yeah, it's a 104.5 Cheeseburger Buck show. Lucas Panzica, tighten up all day. Let's go, baby. Hey, also, let's go, Vanderbilt, baby. Let's go for 6 straight tonight.
You faded him out when he got the Bama basketball?
He said no, he was talking about Vanderbilt.
Oh, I thought he said Bama. Thank you, Cheeseburger.
I love when he starts just repeating himself. And he just goes back to the beginning.
I love that you have music ready to put under him.
So stupid. How dare you try to prevent Cheeseburger from doing that?
I was just trying to do an efficient version of the radio show today, given that roster cuts are flying around.
That doesn't exist.
And you instead want Cheeseburger to rap into the microphone. You're not putting Cheeseburger in a position to succeed there. That's a bad teammate out of you. Hit the damn polls.
Zoinks, like, hey, Scoop, stop the count, stop the count.
Yeah. As if this is any better.
The polls have closed. The votes are in. It's time for a poll update, Scoop. A poll update? Yeah. Zoinks, Scoop. Here's Buck Rising Show daily correspondent Lucas Panzica. Lucas Panzica? Yeah.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, who sells below MSRP on all non-specialty new Fords. What is the dumbest thing in sports this week? Rick says wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, wrong place, wrong time is a tough look.
Talking about Nate Oates, of course.
Yes, that was a difficult quote from the Alabama head coach talking about the loss of life and with one of his players, if not two of his players, having been at least somewhat involved in the shooting on campus about a month ago. I would say the dumbest thing in sports this week, only because A.J. Brown is doing podcasts relitigating it. It is again the Tennessee Titans for trading away A.J. Brown, as today they release Robert Woods to only show how much more they needed that dude on the roster last year.
Tyler says it's the NBA changing their all-star team selection process so reserves are picked first to avoid the stigma of last picked.
I could not have cared less about the NBA All-Star. They had me for a little bit. I watched the draft, and then I didn't even watch the game.
What is the most revealing thing A.J. Brown said when he joined the Raw Room with Darren Bates and friends? Don says that A.J. said he wanted to stay a Titan. We heard about the lowball offer. We knew they quit talking to the front office. Not to necessarily force a trade, but because of bad offers, can't blame a player for trying to get their worth.
You know, you were the one who didn't want to do this yesterday, and now 3 days later we're going to have to do it because of your unwillingness to just let me get the TMZ stuff out of the way.
What is one word to describe the state of Tennessee hoops right now? Karen says Shiano.
Shiano is a good one. It's just it's generally gross.
Steven,
right now, Tennessee basketball is gross.
Yeah, Steven says alcohol. DeMarcus says trash. Don says Jekyll/Hyde.
Well, losers of 4 of their last 5.
5 of their last 7.
Tough scene.
Taking on South Carolina on Saturday. That's a gimme. You got to beat South Carolina.
So was Missouri and Vanderbilt.
Not as much of a gimme as South Carolina. Who is a bigger? Bigger hater? Liar. Wow, I butchered this. So it came out who is the bigger later right now. Later. Supposed to be who's the bigger liar right now.
Why do you do this from my Twitter account?
And the options were the New York Jets for telling Derek Carr that he could be a first ballot Hall of Famer if he goes there.
How many more people are just confused by the way that you phrased that question and peppering me on Twitter?
The vast majority. And then the other option was Shady McCoy for coming out about Eric Bieniemy, which we did not get to today. 55% say Shady McCoy, but this poll's a wash because majority of people probably had no clue what you were trying to say. Why don't you try to be more coherent, Buck? On your
Why don't
Twitter
you
account?
spell check my tweets? If you are going to be directly responsible for putting this evil out there,
there's no proof of that.
You just roll this grenade into my mentions and then step back for 3 hours.
Show me where my name is associated in any way to your Twitter account.
On my login on your phone, that's where your name is associated with my Twitter account.
That's the show account, not your account.
What, so you do just lay claim to my Twitter account because we used it for the show?
Between the hours of 10 to 1. Other than that, I don't give a damn what's happening on your Twitter account.
All right, very good. Are those the polls?
Those are the polls.
Excellent. That's the show. Well, roster cuts out there for you. Blaine and Mickey going to keep the discussion going. If you want to talk to them, 615-737-1045, 3HL on after that. All your Titans news and information right here on 1045 The Zone. I'll talk to you tonight about some roster cuts on Primetime.